Yes, people, we are live. Tuesday afternoon, weekly surgery. A bit earlier than usual. But before we get into it, people, let's smash the intro. And there you have it, people. Back to the Albert JTV practice. Episode 16 of Weekly Surgery. People, the obligatories, bust up the like button. That means smash the like button, people, for those that are not cool with the lingo. But anyways, yeah, man, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And your support has no bounds, people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Weekly Surgery, people, I have Arsenal family with me to join me for this live stream at 12 p.m. There's a lot to talk about, G. Welcome back to Albert JT. Welcome back to Weekly Surgery, actually. And good to see you, brother.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me. This is a topic that I've somewhat held off from, expressing my opinions on the timeline. Just because sometimes it's, do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's easy just to kind of go with the bandwagon and just kind of, put out your tweets and put out your opinions. But, sometimes I like to just sit back and observe and see what everybody's saying, the media outlets, other people on Twitter. But yeah, no, as soon as you sent me the message, I was like, yeah, this is definitely a topic I'm looking forward to getting stuck into. So yeah, good to be back. And like I say, thank you for having me as always, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah. I said to you before the live stream that I was actually going to do the show on the Sunday, but I thought, you know what, let me wait to the Germany game and and then I'll do the show for better timing. But yeah, there's so much to talk about, man. The first thing we get into, when I spend too much time on it, is actual England's Nations League journey. It's not been a good one. Bottom of the group. Let me get the screen image up on screen. Yes, there we have it, G, in black and white, man. 6 games. England's group, I think it was A3. Yeah, with Germany, Hungary, and Italy. No wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. Goals scored 4.
Yep.
Which was quite shocking, really. Goals against 10 and got goal difference of -6, 3 points. I think I heard a stat yesterday. I think it was applied to this tournament. Was it 72 shots, 1 penalty before the game yesterday? I think, wow. Firstly, what did you make of England's campaign? And secondly, I do find it difficult. I do struggle to understand how, with the attacking talent England have, how they've returned that kind of goals return.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the campaign, it hasn't started really, is it? It's not. It never really got off the ground. I mean, when you look at that table, football is a results game, and the table doesn't lie. As you said, no win in 6, scored 4 in 6 games, conceded 10. So it's been poor. I mean, like when you saw the draw and you look at the table, it is a tasty group.
Yeah.
Regardless of, obviously you've got Italy, who've won the Euros. Obviously we very much know that. But they obviously haven't gone on to qualify for the World Cup this winter. Germany is an absolute juggernaut in terms of international football, regardless of what team they ever put out. Come tournament time, they just seem to be able to turn up or put in a performance. So when you look at those 2 teams, I mean, it is a tasty group. They're 2 very, well-known, big, as I say, juggernauts of international football, particularly, European football. So, and Hungary they're no pushovers. And I think
they're not.
There are a couple of nations, in Europe and world football where you kind of expect to go in and, give them a bit of a whopping, like a Faroe Islands or whatever. But yeah, it was on paper. It's a tough group. I mean, there's no game really, apart from, like I say, a couple that I mentioned that you're going to go into and think to yourself, yeah, you're going to guarantee 3 points. But I mean, off the back of our performances in the last two, major tournaments, you're going into this campaign feeling quietly confident. So the actual campaign itself has been it's been horrible, and I think one of the main reasons for me, because sometimes table and results don't necessarily tell the whole story or the whole picture, and as Arsenal fans, we know that. We very much know that. We can sometimes see our team put in a really good performance and sometimes walk away with a point or walk away with none for whatever reason. So, but I think with this campaign, you can't really look past the results and say the performances have been good and take some kind of, solace from that and say, well, actually, we've put in some really good performances, but results just haven't gone our way. Because I think, the fact that we've got 3 points on the board, I think that's what we deserve. When I look at the performances against, the likes of Italy, back-to-back games against Hungary, and even last night for the vast majority of the game, we've not been good enough. And I think the table represents where we are as a nation in terms of football, in terms right now. I'm not looking at that table thinking, how are we bottom? How are we bottom? Now, some people might look at the table and say, how are we bottom? Because, we've just back to back, we've gone semi-final, final, two major tournaments. But I'm talking about the performances. I don't think there's a single England fan that will look at that table and say, well, actually, we deserve to be topping it, or we deserve to be second or even third. We actually deserve to be rock bottom of that table based on what we've seen across, 6 different 90 minutes, going back all the way from June till now. It's just not been good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you could even add in, I think England, it was longer. They got to Nations League semi-final.
Yeah,
finals. Yeah. But even that game, they lost to Holland. It was to be fair, and I think any football team with any fan knows, like, you can't compensate for individual errors. I remember that Nations League semi-final against Holland. I don't know what John Stones and Carl Walker, and I think Ross Barkley even played in that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's some of the mistakes, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrendous.
Yeah.
And then we sort of fast forward to this tournament. I mean, I remember one game in particular. It was, oh my God. I missed the game live at the time. The home game against Italy was played at Molineux.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah.
It was an awful game. I know people made the kind of, it's been a long season and you don't need international friendlies. I understand that, but that's the same for everybody. But I'm not being a fan. As a paying fan who probably was there that game. I think one of the games actually you couldn't go to, but I can't remember what it was. But I'm sure there's fans for that game. I'm sure there was. But if there wasn't, no, I don't think there was, JR, if off the top of my head. But still, even so, the performance, that was an awful game. Awful. But yeah, it's not been a good showing, really. And to be honest, as I mentioned to you before I came to you, in terms of the attacking talent for England, I don't know what's going on. I mean, they get to the final third, it just doesn't happen. Or is it decision making? Is he playing the wrong front three? We know what Kane's going to do. Could we see more of Abraham's? Like, there's so much. We'll come on to that. But yeah, the Nations League was poor showing. It wasn't great at all. And I sort of touched on last night's game. I don't know what you saw of it in terms of the whole game or highlights or goals, whatever. But what did you make of it?
Again, for me, it's like, do you know what I mean? It's hard to talk about that game without talking about the wider issues. And obviously, we're going to come on to that with regards to Southgate, team selection, tactics, etc. But again, it was poor. Just very, very similar to the Italy game.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't that, we love football so much, and there isn't a pause on the Premier League, you can't forgive anybody from just losing interest. Because there were times during the Germany game where I kind of had it on in the background because it was my daughter's birthday. But from what I saw, it was just poor. And you kind of touched upon something that you said earlier. You can't really be prepared for errors in a match.
There's so many,
and there are just so many.
Yeah.
You know, you're just seeing a catalogue of just poor football. And what is so surprising is that, you know, regardless, we're going to get onto the whole Southgate tactics, etc. But regardless of what your opinions are about who he's playing, you know, he's still putting out a team that should perform better. So you have to kind of
100%.
look for reasons, like, you know, why is that? Like I say, it's really difficult without looking at the wider issues going on with England. But yeah, for me, in terms of the performance, it wasn't good enough at all. It was just more of the same. And I think what we've seen is a consistent theme and a consistent trend in this Nation League campaign, in that, you know, we've played 6 games, we've not performed well, we've not won any of those games, we've not been an effective attacking team going forward, and defensively we've looked an absolute shambles. So for me, you know, 3/4 of that match just basically perfectly summarized the entire campaign. Going forward, we looked toothless at times, and defensively we looked an absolute shambles. So until obviously the changes came late on in the game,
Yeah. Mount
obviously
and Saka. Yeah.
Mount and Saka, that completely, you know,
I flipped that
transformed.
game.
Yeah, transformed. You know, changed the game completely. And within 11 minutes, we were ahead. So it just shows you that, you know, this team of individual players can play football, and they can cause teams untold problems. But for whatever reason, we're not doing it on a consistent basis, because 6 games is, you know, you can form and you can see a trend or a theme across 6 games. This is not a one-off performance. So we've seen it throughout the last 6 games. But I don't know whether, you know, some people are arguing, saying, well, actually, you know, Gareth Southgate's, you know, changes actually, you know, impacted the game, turned the game around. We got a point. We could have probably even won the game,
Yeah.
you know. And they're saying, you know, maybe he deserves more credit. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, if the team can play like that in an 11-minute spell, why have they not been playing like that across the last 6 games consistently?
And
Like,
and
what
and
is
and,
the excuse?
and
What's
that's
the
the problem. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like you mentioned, sorry, G, you mentioned, like, you make a good point, like the defensive side of it, because he has shown a lot of loyalty to players, which is really sort of really wound up some of the social media fan base. But in regards to England, but we'll touch on that. But yeah, yesterday's game, I thought actually England started quite sharply, but I don't know. There's always seems to be this hesitancy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me watching international football, but I just, to me, there's too many safe passes. It's too, you know. Yeah, I understand you want to recycle from the back. I mean, I've seen the footage going around socials with the Holland goal. Well, I mean, you know, bring back total football, but with England, it's just there seems to be very little risk for reward. Very safe. No one wants to make a mistake. And I do, as much as there's talent in this squad, team, whatever. For me, it does stem from the manager.
100%.
It does, because just think to myself, you mentioned it, like, I think the fact England were losing, would England have played like that if it was, you know, 0-0, 65 minutes gone? No, I don't think they would have. Not from what I've seen in recent months. And to be honest with you, probably onwards from after the Euro final.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I just don't.
For me,
there's massive concerns for me. There's huge concerns, which we're going to touch on. Go on, bro.
For me, England play football how Gareth Southgate played football. You know, it's almost like England are a carbon copy of the type of player he was. And we were talking about it, you know, kind of, you know, before we went live. Like, for me, he was a very good pro. You know, if you're talking about kind of like how you'd want a footballer to carry themselves on and off the pitch, he was a solid pro. You know, I could imagine him being an absolute dream of a player to have in the dressing room, because on and off the pitch, you know, carries himself well, respectful, hardworking, you know, does his job. But in terms of this crop of players, like I would, there are people out there. I've never been a fan of Gareth Southgate in terms of him being the manager of England, but it's something very similar to other football opinions that I have. I have my opinion. I'll express it, but I'm not going to bang on about it, tweet after tweet after tweet, show after show after show, because it doesn't make sense. Come tournament time, I'm just going to get behind the lads and we move. Once the tournament's over or the Nation League is over, we can digest it, we can process it, we can evaluate it. But just like the World Cup, just like the Euros, just like the Nations League, for me, it comes down to him. And I don't understand, there are sections of England fan base that are still behind him, do still support him and think he is the man to go forward with England. And look, come World Cup time, I will put my bias or my opinion aside and I will support the lads. And of course, I want them to bring it home. Yeah. But I just don't think they will, because I have not seen any evidence in his playing career, in his managerial career, that fills me with confidence to say he's the man to actually get the best out of these players, because I've seen no evidence of exciting football. He's got one of the best young
I've seen
of players that we've seen in an England shirt collectively, but we're playing some of the worst football that I can remember for quite a while.
It doesn't make sense,
and it doesn't make sense. So something's not quite right. We're playing home games against Hungary with a back five,
and we lost 4-0.
Exactly. You're playing at home against Hungary with a back five, and you lose 4-0. Like, come on, like, make it make sense. Do you know what I mean?
So that's going to lead us on to Southgate. So, God, I mean, we could have done a show just on this, man. Even I was thinking, where do I start this with you? But I remember, and I think it's either after the semi-final defeat against Croatia, or it might have been when the tournament was done, when they lost to Belgium in the third, fourth place playoff.
Yeah.
I remember listening to this. It's with Mark Chapman on BBC 5 Live. They do the Foden show after the tournament. And even then, some England fans saying he's got to go.
Yeah.
I was looking at the calendar on my phone. I'm thinking, am I hearing what? Some England fans, even back then, we're now in 2022. That's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 3.5 years ago, whatever. We even then had their doubts.
Yeah.
Who did we come up against? And it's a tough one, because you can only play who you play. You can only play who's in front of you. I get it, but I get the argument also. I said at the time, and I'll stand by it, England should have at least got to the final. Whatever happened against France would have happened. If they lose, they lose, whatever. But not in a disrespectful way, they should have beat Croatia.
Yeah.
They had them on the ropes, but for me, it comes from the manager, the way they manage that game. 100%. And sort of fast forwarding on to I'm going to talk about two players in particular from recent times. I'm going to bring them up on screen now. Audio listeners, you'll I'll go in pictures of Fikayo Tomori and Ivan Toney. This blows my mind. There's other players I can talk about, which we're going to talk about anyway. I'm going to start with Fikayo Tomori. Right, he's comes through at Chelsea, goes on loan to Milan, 2021 season, makes 17 appearances. Has an outstanding season last season, played 38 appearances, won a league title, Scudetto with AC Milan. What has he got to do to get more than the 3 caps he's got to play in this team? Because I listened to Danny Mills this morning on TalkSport talking about how some of the players are not good enough. But then my argument is, well, then how are they supposed to, if he's not going to embed them into the team, how are they going to get experience playing for England and then go into major tournament to be depended on? Because as you saw with John Stones yesterday, we don't know how serious the injury is. He continually picks Harry Maguire, even when he wasn't in form, and even more so coming into season, he's not even starting the games. But G, coming to you, and then obviously come Ivan Toney. So you'll take this as like a double loaded question, but this one blows my mind. It blows my mind. I'm not even a Brentford fan. I'm not even. I'm trying to sit down logically in my chair now as I'm talking to you, and understand why he's called this guy up to the squad.
It
and
makes
hasn't played him. I don't understand what's going on.
it
Come in,
makes
G,
no
come in,
sense.
come in.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And the answer is to the question, what do these guys have to do to get more minutes at England? The answer is there's nothing more they can do. And that's the honest truth. I think it's clear for everybody to see that, and you've explained it already, is that, and I've thought this for a long time. I've said it on previous streams when I was covering the Euros or covering the World Cup. I said it so many times. When it comes to England, there is some sort of player or club bias, or whether it's the manager has their favorites. It's something we've seen. We've seen it year after year, squad after squad. It happens all the time. There is no logical, rational explanation why Harry Maguire starts for England. There is none, and you can offer none other than loyalty. Well, I'm sorry. This is football.
What about the here and now?
Yeah, this is football. At the present moment, the guy does not play. Harry Maguire does not play for Manchester United's first team. It's been deemed by his new manager that he's not good enough to start in that starting 11. Now, yeah, Gareth Southgate's made him his captain. Harry Maguire has played really well previously for England in major tournaments, and I understand all of that. I get that completely. And I'm not even going as far as to say he shouldn't be in the squad. I know some sections of the England fan base might say, well, actually, no, he shouldn't be in the squad at all. He doesn't deserve to be in the squad because he's not playing for Manchester United. But I think when you are picking a squad, you're not just picking a team of players that are in form and that are starting. There are other things that come into play, character of the player, experience, etc., etc. But there is no rational or logical explanation why Harry Maguire starts for England. There is none. Not when you have players like Tomori that is doing the business
for a couple
at
of
club level,
years,
winning major trophies, but can't get a sniff. It makes no sense. Leading up to a major tournament where we have limited games, now we have no games.
There's no games. That's the thing,
whatsoever. So there's no opportunity for him to come in and get some minutes and try and forge some relationships or build some bonds, on the pitch. Because they can get called up and they can do the whole, being part of the camp, but there's nothing like actually being on the pitch and playing with potential, centre-back pairings and stuff like that. Or even just having that experience coming into the England team and actually getting on the pitch, from a personal perspective. So it is baffling. It's completely baffling. You could argue if, we were in a position where, and what's funny? The weird thing is that even if Harry Maguire was starting for Manchester United week in, week out, even if he was doing that, there would still be an argument to say, look, the Nations League, these are the last couple of games before the World Cup. We do have to give other players an opportunity to see what they can do, to see what they can bring to the table. We all know you're going to start Harry Kane if he's fit. We all know you're going to start Harry Maguire if he's fit. I mean, you're starting him now. He's not fit and he's not in form. So I don't understand why they can't get any minutes. And then when you look at the Ivan Toney thing, I'm a fan of Ivan Toney. I wouldn't necessarily say he's, world-class forward, but he's one of those players, he causes opposition defenses problems. There's more to his game than just being a big target man. If you watch him, watch the way he plays for Brentford, and he can definitely offer something, But at the end of the day, we're going now into a major tournament having not seen him in an England shirt.
It's crazy because I pose this to you. I'll come back to you, G. Like, if God forbid Harry Kane got injured for some reason, however, I'm not even confident. Who would you say England's number 2 is? I don't know who it is.
But based on appearances, we could only go as far as to say Tammy.
Yeah,
because I think with Tammy, he's at least had some minutes, like here and there. But really and truly, that is the point. The point is we're going into a major tournament, and apart from his actual current 11, who would be the guys to come in? I mean, it would have to be one of, I can only assume it'd have to be one of Tony or Abraham to come in and do that job. But I mean, they're coming in absolutely cold. And, people will say, they're pros, they play week in, week out for their clubs. They should be able to come in and do a job, etc., etc. But I mean, when Ivan Toney got the call up, at the time I was a little bit worried because obviously we were about to play Brentford, and I thought, this guy's going to be absolutely buzzing because you know what it's like. It's confidence, confidence boost.
Yeah, he's got 5 and 7.
Yeah, so I was thinking he's scoring goals. He's got an England call up. He's going to be absolutely buzzing. Come the game against us, but we did our thing, so that's all good. But you just think to yourself, like, he got called up to then not even make the squad against Italy.
I was like, I was concerned. Squad right here. Yeah,
I'm telling you, if I was Ivan Toney, I'd be calling up Jamaica or wherever else he's from and being like, yo, listen, I want to play international football, because there would be me as Ivan Toney, or me as somebody like Tomori, or wherever these guys are from.
Yeah.
I'm like, where is the evidence to suggest that you're going to actually get a fair crack at being in the England side? For me, it's poor. It's really, really poor. And at the end of the day, we can sit here and try and think about all these different reasons as to why this has happened, the decisions that have been made. But ultimately, the FA, etc., etc. But ultimately, Southgate is the man. He's the man in the job. He's manager of England.
Yeah,
it's his responsibility.
2024, I think he's contracted. Yeah,
it's his responsibility. So the decisions that are made in terms of team selection, or call-ups or non-call-ups, playing players out of position, I mean, that has to lay at his bed in terms of the decisions he's making. A couple of days ago, Saka was voted England's best player.
Oh my, yeah.
Voted best player. Now, he was England's best player playing on the right wing. So being voted England's best player playing on the right wing, what does Gareth Southgate go and do? He goes and plays left wing back. Like, now, I know he can play left wing back.
Yeah, we know he's versatile, but that's not the point.
We know he's versatile, but why would you take, if you actually look at the Euros, Saka was arguably England's most influential player, maybe bar Sterling.
Yeah, 100%.
In the early stages of that tournament.
Yeah.
So why would you take your most influential, or one of your most influential attacking players, when you're struggling to score goals, and play him left wing back? It doesn't, because he didn't win England's best player playing left wing back.
No, he didn't.
He won it because of his performances playing right wing in the Euros. That's why. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to sit here and just bash Gareth Southgate, but like you said earlier in the stream, he does not help himself.
He doesn't help himself. He doesn't. I mean, you talk about decisions. I personally think, I don't know what your thoughts are. People in the chat, thank you for tuning on this Tuesday afternoon. The Trent Alexander-Arnold one's very easy for me. Said it before the Euros.
Yeah.
He doesn't trust him defensively.
No.
Hence the reason why he would rather play Trippier. Hence the reason why I'd rather play Kyle Walker.
Yep.
And hence the reason why I'll play Reece James.
100%.
That's the only issue. And I'll tell you now, as a football fan, not an Arsenal fan, as a football fan, do not be surprised if he's not in that England squad for the World Cup.
Yeah, I agree.
People will go, well, surely with Trent, his attacking attributes can outweigh defensively. Yes, not under this manager.
Yeah.
To me, it's simple as that. Simple. G, come in, bro.
Yeah. It's, like we kind of touched upon it, but, and this is one of the reasons why, for me, Gareth Southgate, for me, is not the man moving forward. Because what I see is a defensive-minded coach. I see him, he wants us to be tight. He wants us to be set up right, which is why he often plays a back five. And he wants us to see out games 1-0, 2-1. The problem is that there was a time when we were doing that.
And it didn't work then. Ericsson.
Yeah, exactly. But now, we have a real issue scoring goals. but we have an issue actually conceding them. And this is why the Harry Maguire thing for me, like it's borderline insane, because for me, Gareth Southgate is a defensive minded coach. He wants the team to be compact. He wants the team to be solid at the back, which is why, like you said, he doesn't fancy Trent.
No, you're right.
He doesn't.
Let me bring you back in, because the thing is, I say to people, I always make the reference. I know England won the game, but bear with me. Like, look at it logically. Go and look at that starting lineup that played for England against Germany in the Euros in round 16.
Yeah.
Go and look up the lineup. Then it typifies what G's saying. Come back in, sorry.
It is what it is. He's very defensive. He's always going to be defensive, and given the crop of players he has at his disposal, the manager doesn't match the squad. Like, it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. Because we've got, for me, an abundance of attacking players, an abundance of really exciting offensive players. And as soon as England took put their foot on the gas last night and actually went out and said, look, we're getting smashed by Germany 2-0. We need to play some football. And they injected some youth and they injected some enthusiasm into their play. Guess what? They scored 3 goals in 11 minutes. That's the way England has to play.
Do you know? I think it is. That particular the point in raised in regards to the game yesterday. I just thought for them last 20 minutes, it was like when you play football back in school. You try to do things. It's like forget manager's instructions. 2-0 down. That's what I think it was about the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a tactical masterclass or tweaking formations. To me, it was as simple in layman terms as that. Saka's going to come in. Saka plays without fear.
Yeah.
England, Arsenal, he will always take the ball on, try and beat players. He's not restrictive in the way he plays.
Yeah.
The problem with someone like Southgate is, prime example, and I had this conversation with RJ, if he's in the chat watching, a long time ago. I said after the Euro final, I said, I look at someone like Jack Grealish. We knew Phil Foden wasn't available for the final because of injury. Jack Grealish comes on in the 96th minute. And I said to myself, hold on a minute. If you can't bring on a player of his quality, or you have a player of his quality at your disposal in a home tournament final, and you bring him on in the 96th minute, he's not going to be a fixture in this team going forward.
No.
Under Southgate, he will not be. Maddison will never be in this England side under Gareth Southgate.
No,
it doesn't matter how well his goal contributions are, or you want to look at his Opta stats or whatever. It doesn't matter because the manager's not going to pick him in the squad, and he's absolutely not going to pick him in the team.
Yeah, there are so many players in this England team that either shouldn't be there, or there are players that are not there that should be there, and at some point should have been given an opportunity, to show what they can do. And now we're at a stage where it's too late.
Yeah,
it's too late. The games are done. The World Cup is around the corner, and ultimately, let's face it, we can all predict what England squad's going to get picked. We can all predict it, and we've got players. How, and this is one thing I got to mention. How Nick Pope is getting minutes over Ramsdale is beyond me. It's just beyond me,
And he didn't have two good games, and you can see, as much as people pick fault at Pickford, the levels in terms of comfortability and it was as clear as day in both games.
I'm telling you right now, any elite manager or any manager that has any nous about playing football or playing attractive football or possession-based football, tiki-taka, whatever you want to call it, they would have Ramsdale as their number one. 100%, they would have him as their number one, because the guy is comfortable on the ball. The guy has fantastic distribution, but he doesn't get a sniff in the England side. It doesn't make no sense. I'm
glad you say that, because people are going to listen to this and go, it's biased because you're both Arsenal fans. I'll say what I'm going to say. I'll tell you why I say that. People have this thing about the Arsenal Tottenham thing. They just can't concede anything. Eric Dyer should be in the team.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm telling you that as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
You can clip it. I'll say it. Listen, I'm not one of them people that's going to chat rubbish and
he should be.
No, he has played well.
Yeah,
not just this season. Probably even going back to last season, he's played well. So
Dyer, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Dyer should be in that team over Maguire. He should be in that team over Josh Stones.
Yeah.
He should. Yeah. In terms of when you're going, because at the end of the day, the way I look and the way you look at this England squad and the England 11, it's based on form. That's how I see it. I'm like, for me, that is the whole concept of playing for your national team. If you are playing well for your club and you're doing it consistently for your club, that's how you warrant or merit a call-up. And that's how you warrant or merit a an opportunity to actually start a game. So Eric Dyer should be in the England squad. Should be in the starting 11. You know, Aaron Ramsdale should. If you're not playing Pickford, you should be playing Ramsdale 100%. You know, if you look at Ben White, he's been a constant presence for an Arsenal team that have started the league campaign well. They're top of the league. And he has played every single game for Arsenal. So how can you take a ball-playing centre-back for Arsenal, the team that's top of the league, who's been ever present, not even make the squad, but play your captain who can't get 30 seconds on the pitch for United and start him for England? It doesn't make any sense. That's why when we sit here and we discuss this whole, what do these players have to do? The answer is clear. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Because we know, clearly, if he doesn't play Pickford, he's going to play Pope. You know, we could wrap up. We could win the Premier League this year. Don't make a blind bit of difference. He doesn't. That you can clearly see when it comes to Southgate that there's certain players he don't fancy. You know, and you can see it. You can see it with Ramsdale. You can see it with Ben White. You can see it with Maddison. You can see it with Ivan Toney. You can see it with Tammy Abraham. Even when he's played Tammy Abraham, it's like he's played Tammy Abraham just to go, oh, you know what? Let me give him. I got to put him on. You know, even with, like you say, Grealish, you know, coming on in the 96th minute, like it's just nuts. It's just nuts, and that's what's so frustrating about all of it, is because for me, it's like I come back to the same thing. You know, when Gareth Southgate got the job for the England manager job, I wasn't blown away by the appointment. I looked at him, you know, as a player, you know, when I look at his kind of accolades and his honors, and don't get me wrong, your playing honors or accolades doesn't necessarily represent what you're going to be like as a manager. But, you know, I think he won the first division with Palace in his playing career. He won a couple of League Cups, I think, with Villa and Middlesbrough. I mean, his journey into managing
wasn't great.
It's not been great. Like, dismissed at Middlesbrough, you know, after relegation. I mean, he didn't exactly set the world alight when he was managing the under-21s, and he's been.
To be fair, you know what? To be fair, I don't think I think this is definitely right. He didn't want the England job initially.
No, he didn't. He turned it down.
Allardyce got it, and then one game Allardyce, and then
But and then you look at it, you just think to yourself, like, being England manager is tough. It is tough. It's a big job, and one of the reasons why it's such a big job is because of the expectancy, the pressure that is put on this group of, you know, whoever puts on that England shirt. There's huge pressure. There's huge hype, and there's huge, you know, expectancy. And I just don't feel like he is qualified to lead this nation into another major tournament, and two, I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got it as a person, as a man, as a character. You know, I honestly just don't think he is the guy. But like I say, like, for me, it's a case of just, there's no point banging on about it, because ultimately what we know that, you know, he's not going to get fired or dismissed before the World Cup. And we can practically predict the players, you know, he's gonna select. And I think that's actually a really good word to sum up England. We're predictable. You know, we're very, very predictable. And anytime we've come up against, let's face it, the first team we came up of any real quality at the World Cup we lost to, and that was Croatia.
Mm.
The first team of any real quality that we came up, you know, in the Euros was Italy, and we lost. You know, so yeah, I'm not confident. Put it that way.
Let me ask analyze questions. If you could pick a new England before the World Cup, who would it be? I'm gonna get up a graphic actually.
Okay.
I saw Paul Robinson picked. I think it was at starting 11 for England for the opening game. I think it was. I'm gonna get up on screen though. Pick from two scenarios. First can be anyone employed or not, and the second choice has to be from unemployed options only. For me, this is a very easy question to answer. G, you kind of mentioned it. I don't think he's not going anywhere soon because he's contracted to 2024.
Yeah.
I've heard Simon Jordan speak about saying, I don't know why they offered him a contract at the time they did. I think it was it before the final or maybe after? I can't remember now, before the Euro final. But
I swear it was before he renewed. You
I
know?
think it might have been before, to be honest. Yeah.
I think it was.
Before the Euro. People in the chat, find out, let us know, please.
I'm sure it was.
I think in terms of after Southgate, I think the most obvious choice with the group of players England have got and will be coming through is Graham Potter. But obviously timing, you know, he's just gone to Chelsea.
Yeah.
The only other candidate would be Eddie Howe, but he's just gone to Newcastle.
Mm.
I don't even think really Lampard and Gerrard would take the England job. But if I'm going by what I've seen in terms of managerial career,
Nah.
I think that's the question you have to. I think that's the question you revisit with those two. I think the two, for me, obvious candidates are Eddie Howe and Graham Potter. I think the problem is, if anybody's followed the FA over a number of years, these guys they're very safe. They're not going to go against the but we could go back many years. There's a reason why Brian Clough never ever got the England job.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows Brian Clough remembers Cloughie, just go see footage or whatever. There's no way the FA would have given him in the England job. There was no way in hell England would have given the job to Harry Redknapp. They would have never given it to. There's other managers. They don't want maverick type managers. Yeah. They don't want people's upset buck the trend. The guys in suits. That's the one likes of.
Yep.
Listen, Roy Hodgson got it when he did. Roy Hodgson, to me, if he was ever going to get the England manager's job, he should have got it back in the late 90s when his stock was super high. You know, he got Switzerland to knockout stages in 94. I think he's manager of Blackburn around 96, 97, 98 season when his stock was high. Like I said, England traditionally through the FA, whether it be when David Bernstein was there or Adam Crozier was there, they're not going to go against the trend, man.
No, they're not. They're not. In terms of, like, for me, when it comes to kind of people that I would like to see, you know, be England manager, for me, I want to see somebody who's going to encourage attacking football, attractive football, because I feel like we've not always had squads or individual players that can potentially, you know, play like that. But if you look at the squad and the way the squad's taking shape in terms of the players we have and the players we've got coming through, they can. You know, and I think you've got a spine, or you've got a collective of English players that are comfortable on the ball and that will and can play attractive football. So for me, that has to be the mindset of the manager or the future managers that are coming into this England team. So you hit the nail on the head. You know, Potter is an obvious choice, but due to obviously circumstances, we can't see that happening anytime soon. But some of the other names that obviously, you know, you mentioned the likes of, you know, Gerrard, Lampard. I don't want them anywhere near the England team, like at all. I don't want them anywhere near the England team. If it was up to me, you know, part of the FA, I would be looking to appoint a Guardiola, a Jurgen Klopp. I would go at this present time. I would go foreign. I would bring in a foreign manager. And the reason why I say that is because I will just look at the managers that have been doing it consistently at club level, within the English Premier League as well, that have managed many of these players, many of these big characters already that are part of the England setup, but also will command respect. you know, within because let's face it, within that England team, you know, there are some characters, there are some ego, and they need that man management, and they need a person who's going to come in there and instantly, you know, instantly expect that respect and not even have to ask for it, because you know the guy who's walking into the changing room, he's serious business. For me, like I said, Potter would be the guy, but if it was anybody else, I would say Guardiola, because I feel like at some point, I feel like his tenure at Man City will at some point come to an end over the next couple of years. I think if Guardiola wins the Champions League with Man City, I think he'll go, or I think he'll be open to a new challenge, because everything else he's won already with them. But he is somebody that will come in and he will get the best, for me, out of, you know, a crop of English players that for me can play football. I'm seeing a crop of English players that for their clubs can play some amazing football in under the right circumstances. And when they come to England, you just don't see the cohesion. You just don't see the chemistry. You just don't see, you know, the offensive play. So yeah, Graham Potter, 100%. I think he would be the top candidate. But if he's not available, obviously due to Chelsea, I mean, I'd have to go down the route of a you know, a Guardiola, a Klopp, and you know, people might kill me or come for me when I say it, but dare I say it, an Arsene Wenger type short term.
That's been said. Yeah,
you know what, you know, he's not going to come in and give you, you know, 8, 10, 15 years service, but you know, he's a well respected you know, ex-manager in world football. He, you know, is famous for playing attractive football, completely transforming and transitioning, you know, the way football was played in this country. You know, he's big on diet, he's big on, you know, performance on and off the pitch. There's a lot of things there that I think he could bring to the table and short term do a job for England. But yeah, for me, short term fix would be Wenger. I would say ideal, it would be kind of a Klopp. Long term, it would be Potter.
No, good shouts, man. Good shouts, man. Seriously, this has been a good chat. This has been a good talk, man.
No, it is, man. I feel like we needed to get it off our chest.
100%. But yeah, one more thing, man. I won't keep you too long, man. So yeah, sort of what's your, not just recently, obviously, because of Nations League, because that's quite our head in it, but I'd say probably from what you've seen from England making Euros final or last two major tournaments going through to this World Cup. First game is against Iran on the 21st of November, 1 p.m. kickoff, USA 25th of November, and Wales on the 29th of November as well. So I think the Wales game and the USA game are 7 p.m. kickoffs. So people, get your work calendar sorted, man.
You know that.
The Iran game, it's not a time where you could sit at home. So yeah, but yeah, what's your thoughts on England's chances of the World Cup, and also who do you think will win it?
So yeah, England's chances going into the World Cup. I've got to be honest. I'm not confident that we're going to do very much at the World Cup. I'm confident we'll get through the group.
I think they could. I don't know if it was the last 16, last way, but I think France could possibly away.
Yeah, well, France are not looking amazing either. You know, they've got the likes of Mbappe. You know, they've got some world-class players. But I mean, I've not been massively impressed with the way France have been playing under Deschamps, particularly recently. But I mean, in terms of England's chances, I'm not massively confident, and I've got a number of reasons why. One is obviously recent form in the Nations League, but I think during tournament, it's tournament time. It's very easy to get carried away. It's very, very easy. You know, we made a semi-final, we made a final. You know, if you're looking at the trajectory, it's like, yeah, we're going to win this one. But for me, when I look back and I evaluate those two tournaments, like I said, for me, when it's come to crunch time, when it's come to facing a team of real caliber, we've struggled. We got beat by Croatia in the semi-final. For me, it was the first team of real quality we played in that World Cup. And again, against Italy, I honestly believe in both those tournaments, we had very favorable run-ins to get to the positions we did. So, you know, parking the emotion aside of the tournament and, you know, it's coming home and all that nonsense, I'm going into this tournament thinking, you know what? I think this England team should comfortably get out of the group. And for me, it should be a team that is capable of winning the World Cup. But when I look at the past two performances, I can't just look at the World Cup and say, yeah, we made the semi, because
No,
you have to process
exactly.
and see who we came up against, and see, you know, when it was the key moment in that tournament and we had to put in a performance to get to the final, we fell short. Against Italy again, we played within ourselves for the vast majority of that
Yeah,
game. You know, we didn't manage the 90
it's a
minutes the
painful
way we
watch.
should have. You know, so I'm not confident at all going into the World Cup, but you know, I'm sure we'll get through the group stages, and I'm sure we'll probably get past, you know, the first kind of knockout round and that, and then obviously we'll all get hyped and we'll all start singing "It's Coming Home." But for me, England are not going to win the World Cup, as much as I want them to, and as much as, you know, as much as I love us to, I just can't see it, and that's not to do with me believing we don't have a squad capable of winning it. I think we have a squad capable of competing with the best teams in the world and have a chance of winning it. But I personally, I've got to go back to it. Under this manager, I don't think it's going to happen at all. In terms of my favourites, I mean, you know, these days I don't watch a huge amount of international
It's
football.
hard. It is
But
hard.
it
Yeah,
is hard. But from what I've seen, based on form, based on squad, um, I've got to go with Brazil.
yeah. Shout. That's my
You know, I've got
shout.
to go with Brazil. I've looked at their recent form. I think they're on. I can't remember the actual number, but it's been a while since they've been beaten.
Tete's still manager, boy. At the end.
Yeah, I look at the you know, the influence and the impact of some of their international players and what they're doing at club level. And yeah, like, you know, they had the, you know, they've got the manager now and the luxury of leaving out the likes of Jesus, Martinelli, and Gabriel from their from their recent, you know, squad. So when I look at their starting 11 and I look at their form and I look at their pedigree in terms of at that level, I think it's going to take some team to beat them. So for my favourites to win it, it will be Brazil.
Yeah, I think you kind of. I'm similar. Brazil was my pick actually. I thought, you know what? I've not backed them for quite a few World Cups, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me started on the World Cup in 2014. I mean, oh my god! But yeah, I like the look of this Brazil.
Yeah,
this Brazil side. I'll be honest with you. Got a very experienced manager as well. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, England. I think it comes back to me with them actually making the final for the first time in my lifetime, and
Yeah,
how they managed that, how he
huge,
managed that game, and how it
huge.
went, and going 1-0 up and letting Italy come back into it, and you saw it coming. You have to ask yourself the question: if England do find themselves in that position again, does he have the tactical nous or the guts for them to go and get the win? And I'm not sure he does, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah,
There's not too many times as a manager at international level you're going to make a final. So when you make the final and you 1-0
yeah.
up, I'm not sure if them tactical adjustments or the bravery, there's going to be enough bravery, yes, to say, you know what, we took it to them, we lost the game, fair play, but that wasn't the case in that era final for me. I just think England missed a golden opportunity personally,
Yeah.
and I just worry if they do get to that position again, what's going to be different.
This is it though. This is it. And for me, you know, I don't like to bark on about the past, but you know, I honestly do feel like it stems from the manager. Like I said, you know, in the big moments, in his playing career as well as his managerial career, I see very little evidence that, like you said, it's going to be any different. You know, I think we'll cruise through the group, but at the end of the day, when it comes to, you know, that moment in every tournament where, you know, you have to deliver, I just don't think he is the man that's going to be able to inspire and motivate this team of players, you know, to get over the line. I've not seen it. I've not seen it in him as a player. I've not seen it in him as a manager. And I just, when I look at him, you know, I go by a lot on kind of gut instinct feeling. You know, when you look at somebody and, you know, some people might say, oh, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but I mean, you know, he just does not fill me with confidence. I see him in press conferences, I see his body language, and I mean, it's the polar opposite to, you know, the likes of a Wenger or Guardiola or a Klopp or a Graham Potter. They've got some presence, you know, and I just don't see it in Gareth Southgate. What I see in Gareth Southgate was he was a really good pro. You know, he's a safe manager, he's a defensive manager, but most importantly, he's a yes man. And he is not going to be willing to make those big decisions, the right decisions at the right moments to get this England side over the line, in my opinion. It's just not going to happen. I want it to happen. I pray it happens, but I just can't see it.
No, well said, man. I guess there's not much else to say, but people, time will tell, man.
Yeah.
Countdown to the opening fixture of the World Cup. But G, I want to thank you for coming on, brother, man. Tell the people where they can find you, bro.
No, definitely, it's a pleasure, man. But you know what? With all that being said, you know it's coming home. Obviously, it's coming home.
You're funny, man.
You know, no, but you know what it's like, yeah. We'll beat Iran 3-0. You know, have a couple of beers, and then we'll all be singing 3 lines on the shirt. So, but yeah, absolute pleasure as always to join you, Albert, on obviously Albert JTV. So, first of all, just want to thank you and big up you. Always doing amazing content, amazing stuff. You know, in the world of Twitter and the world of YouTube. So yeah, always a pleasure to grace your presence on your streams. But yeah, those of you who want to don't know me, obviously I'm G Talks Arsenal. Best place to find me is on Twitter, and it's literally at G Talks Arsenal. I've not been very active at the moment because I've got a lot going on, new job. Told Albert about some of the issues I'm having. Good, not bad issues, but yeah, obviously being a father to teenagers, it can be challenging at times, and we'll leave it there. But yeah, just follow me on Twitter, G Talks Arsenal. Any of you that don't interact with me, I'm always open to interacting with people. So yeah, all good. But yeah, Albert, once again, massive thank you, because like I said, it's always a pleasure doing this with you.
Okay, no worries, man. I just see my sister coming up. But people, come find me, Albert JTV, as you can see on the screen. This will get out my audios later. That is me and G Talks over and out, people. So I guess I will see you guys very, very soon. All love.